Hello and welcome to the Insights and Motivation YouTube podcast. Yes, this is an AI-generated content, but remember, there was a human at the beginning of it, creating and curating this material with care and purpose. I request you, dear listener, to step aside from any bias and listen to the message itself. Take the message, not the messenger. That is the key. The same is true for the rest of the playlists and podcasts on this channel, each designed to inspire thought, dialogue, and transformation. Now let me begin the podcast. Rule of law and accountability in schools. Democracy cannot exist without the rule of law, and neither can a thriving school environment. Just as societies collapse when rules are arbitrary or selectively applied, schools too lose credibility when standards apply only to some and not to all. A truly democratic school is one where rules are consistent, transparent, and binding on everyone. Students, teachers, and administrators alike. Why is this principle so necessary? Because fairness is one of the deepest psychological needs in human beings. When students sense that rules apply equally, trust grows. They begin to believe that effort, honesty, and responsibility will be rewarded, not favoritism or status. Without such a framework, classrooms devolve into spaces of suspicion where students constantly measure whether they are being treated justly. The advantages of embedding rule of law in education are profound. A fair code of conduct instills discipline, not through fear, but through mutual respect. If a student is expected to be punctual, they will respect punctuality much more when they see teachers holding themselves to the same standard. Accountability creates balance. The teacher is not a ruler above the law, but a model who lives by it. This is how schools cultivate cultures of fairness and integrity. Now contrast this with what often happens in current systems. Students are told to follow rules that teachers themselves do not always uphold. Late arrivals by staff, inconsistent grading practices, or selective discipline undermine the very authority the rules are supposed to protect. When students see double standards, they lose respect not only for the rule, but also for the rule makers. They begin to perceive school as a place where power, not fairness, decides outcomes. The results of ignoring accountability are all around us. We see students who grow cynical about authority, believing that those in power will always bend the rules for themselves. We see rising indiscipline, not because children dislike rules, but because they dislike hypocrisy. We see disengagement as students silently conclude that justice is not real, and therefore effort is not worth investing. These are not trivial consequences. They shape attitudes that follow young people into adulthood. Embedding accountability in schools, however, creates ripple effects far beyond the classroom. It teaches children that laws and rules exist not to suppress, but to safeguard fairness. It builds trust between teachers and learners. It ensures that authority is respected, not because it is feared, but because it is consistent. This transforms schools into training grounds for citizenship, where students learn the value of responsibility and integrity by experiencing it firsthand. Accountability also brings humility into education. Teachers who admit mistakes or hold themselves accountable model a critical lesson. Authority does not mean infallibility. When adults in positions of power demonstrate accountability, students learn that leadership is about service, not dominance. This shifts the culture from one of command to one of collaboration, where fairness is the shared ground that holds the community together. If we ignore rule of law in schools, the damage is severe. We create societies where those in authority escape responsibility while the powerless shoulder the consequences. We normalize favoritism, erode trust, and prepare future leaders who see rules as tools to control rather than commitments to uphold. But if schools embrace this principle, they create generations who believe in fairness, who respect boundaries, and who know that accountability is not weakness, but strength. The classroom, then, becomes more than a place of learning facts. It becomes a rehearsal space for justice. By holding everyone, student and teacher alike, accountable to shared rules, schools mirror the essence of democracy itself. Fairness ceases to be an abstract concept and becomes a lived daily reality. And when that happens, we prepare not only disciplined students, but also principled citizens who can uphold fairness in society. Did this podcast resonate with you? Are you an educator or a higher authority with the ability to influence educational policy and reform? If so, I encourage you to share this podcast as widely as possible within your connections, and do share and subscribe to this channel. This channel has lots of playlists and educational, psychological content with a focus on how to improve all systems of education, corporate culture, and many such topics. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for our next podcast.